Morning, everyone. Let's just start with that. Good morning. Everybody seems so happy, cheery. I'm going to call the Board of Supervisors to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Supervisor Giomi, Supervisor White, Supervisor Horton, Supervisor Schutte,
Here.
Mayor Backwell.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. This morning, if you'd rise, we have our invocation will be done by Pastor Peggy Locke, the assisting minister at the Reno Hillside Foursquare Church. Good morning.
Good morning. Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Thank you, dear Lord, for life. We recognize that each day is a gift. You are our provider, our restorer. Lead us, guide us in paths of righteousness. Because you are with us, we will not fear. You are our comforter and our healer. Be with our families and those who labor in love for our community. We ask for your grace and protection and wisdom for those serving and continuing to serve in harm's way. We pray blessing over our mayor, our board of supervisors, our sheriff and fire departments, for Carson Tahoe Hospital, and for Carson City. Your blessing. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Mr. Johnson, would you do us the honor of leading us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Okay. Oops. Do I have any? Nobody signed up? Okay. We're now on to our opening public comment. I'll just for the record, so in case anyone's waiting for it or anything, let you know that item 18B, as in boy, will not be heard this morning. It's been postponed. So just in case you were waiting, I want you to do it all the way to the end. So B is in boy. We will not be hearing that item. Is no one else has signed up for public comment? Is there any? You just did? I spoke too soon. Mr. French, did you have opening public comment? Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor and Board. Thank you very much for being here. I also want to start by thanking Greg Bergner for the time that he spent helping me understand some of the things I was observing on Prison Hill related to the new, what they call trail consideration. And I'd like to have a chance to talk with Lindsay Boyle about my concerns about the nature of it. So starting my day with that, I asked a question during an open space meeting, and it wasn't a time when they felt comfortable about discussion. And that was still being worked into their considerations and how to approach that and where to put it in. And my question was relating to Buzzy Ranch. And I was just now deciding what Buzzy Ranch was all about. So I've just started exploring within the last couple months, actually. I had heard about it. It's not a place I could really go. There were trails that I walked around it, but didn't even realize I was Buzzy Ranch. So in this case, the question was, does Buzzy Ranch it has agriculture and it has the cattle and such, but I sense that there was a slaughterhouse on the property. And I just wanted to have that answered, and I wasn't able recently to do. And so if it can be addressed today, I appreciate it. And I'd also like to make a recognition of Lisa Schuete's efforts to be in the community and be available. And I applaud her for that effort. All of you are making yourselves seen and heard and listening and being involved with many different organizations, many different categories of your involvement as far as your work type schedule. And I'm really a bit worried about overload. I know I've reached my max several times and had to back off a few things that I was involved in. But I don't want to see you all get burned out on those things, trying to be everywhere at once. So please take care. I need you all to be as sharp as tacks, because I'm not. And I appreciate the input. We have our differences, but discussion and interaction and communication, we can do it civilly. It's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do I have any other public comment, General? Okay, we're then going to move on to agenda item 6, which is approval of our minutes of June 15th, 2023. Did any member have any changes besides the small, the box correction? If not, I'll accept a motion.
I move to approve the Carson City Board of Supervisors meeting minutes of June 15th, 2023 with the formatting error corrected.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Thank you. We're now on to special presentations. Will you join me on the floor? Okay, let's see how many awardees we have with us this morning. We're going to start with Jen's coming up. Start with Jen's group. Okay, are you Ada? Oh, but you go up. Do you want this changed? Okay, because we have a way of redoing them if necessary. Yeah. Okay, well, let me start with this and say congratulations and thank you so much, you guys. You ready for how long she's been a lifeguard with us? 20 years. Is that something? Darla, could you find us some more? Oh, I think we need more, right? We always need more. So we need some more to emulate the great work of Darla. So again, thank you. Darlene? Darlene's what you go by? Okay. So that's Darlene. Thank you. Also known as.
Thank you. This is Darlene Marshall. Darlene's been amazing. She has helped the Carson City Aquatic Facility literally stay afloat, pun intended, for the past 20 years and has been key to growing aquatic programming in the region. As a head guard, she's constantly seeking knowledge and betterment while providing a healthy, happy, safe environment for anyone she's around. She's passionate, enthusiastic, and her just abilities are unmatched. We're so grateful for her service. The aquatic facility is a better place because of the decades she's dedicated herself to aquatics in the community. Darlene is a gem, and we're so proud to have her as part of Parks team. Thank you.
Pretty fantastic. Yeah, you got to stay for the picture. There's no running away here. Okay, the next batch is, do I have I don't see Darren. Are you going to do it, Rick? Come on up, Rick. We're gonna talk about hopefully Jennifer. I'm getting nervous now that everybody has a different, including myself. I got yours right. Well, Jennifer, thank you for your 10 years of service to Carson City, and she is a wastewater operations supervisor. We need that desperately. Rick?
Good morning. So, let's see, where do I start this one? In just 10 short years, Jennifer has reached the highest levels of certification in her field and is nationally recognized as a leader in wastewater treatment and as a new mom on top of all that. 2 months? Yeah, 2 months. So we are so fortunate to have her here at Carson City running our wharf and can't wait to see what the next 10 years brings once she gets back from maternity leave.
Where's the baby? Where's the baby? We need the important part. Absolutely.
Jennifer was a student of mine back at Carson Middle School, And so I had her in health class, and she also ran cross country. She was delightful then, and you can't say that about every 12 and 13-year-old. And she, when we went on a tour at wastewater treatment a couple years ago with Carson Water Subconservancy, Jennifer was a big part of that tour, and it was just so interesting, and she's so knowledgeable. We're really, really lucky to have you. So yay, and congrats on many things, right? Awesome. You're welcome.
Thank you. Picture. Okay, if the district attorney, you want to come on up? All right, and it's the one, the only, I'm gonna get this name right because this person I know really well. Do you want Ben or Benjamin? Either one is good with him. He's easy. Okay, 5 years. That is so hard for me to believe where that went. I remember when he was first hired. So thank you for sticking it out with us. And since you're only at 5 years, we do have to have the, 20 more, right? We have to get it on the record. Oh, hopefully isn't quite what I was looking for.
So this is Ben Johnson, Senior Deputy with our office, does terrific work for us, really smart guy. I won't tell you where he went to law school, but it rhymes with Smirkly. Oh, no. But he's a great pleasure to have in the office whenever there's an emotionally charged case on the civil side, and we do get those cases. Somehow it seems to land on Ben's desk. He doesn't complain, well, he complains a little bit about that, but does a terrific job, gets us consistently terrific results, and couldn't appreciate having him in the office more. So thank you, Ben.
Just got to stay for the picture. Okay, the next one is with the clerk recorder's office. Mr. Hone, are you gonna? Oh, Miguel's gonna do this one. She's your direct report. Come on over. So exciting. I know she's great at stickers. I'm sorry, I'm taking the thunder away. Everybody goes, that was my statement. Okay, but we want to thank Emily Hope so much for your 5 years of service. That's wonderful. So you get the same standard, 20 more.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, Ben, did you hear her answer? I'm kind of looking for that. But thank you. Yeah, commitment. Thank you so much. Miguel, would you tell us a little bit about Emily?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Emily joined our department 2020, right before the COVID-19 restrictions came out and right before a primary. So she had to literally jump into the fire. Normally we use those primaries to practice for the general and get things squared away, but it was basically like doing two different elections. She adapted to everything we asked her to do. Now she's crucial to our same-day registration implementation, as well as monitoring and managing all the election workers. Emily's a joy in the office. She helps with all the customers. She has great customer service skills, and we just really appreciate her willingness to jump in whenever we need her. So appreciate her being here.
Thank you. Okay, come on in. And is there any, I see lots. Did our officers didn't make it? Okay, well, we just don't have to hear from the sheriff then this morning. We had a couple, but we do have their certificates and want to just in advance, again, actually just thank the whole sheriff's office. They had a great competition this last weekend, and I understand we rocked it and took first and second place. In all categories? I missed that part. Certain enough categories we won. So that was just a wonderful event, and just really thank all of your officers for doing that training, for putting that on, recognizing that safety is the reason we do training and things of that nature. And it just shows how safe our community is because we have officers that care. So just want to give a shout out to your whole team. And I see one. I heard second place. But he was beat out by another Carson City sheriff. So it's all right. We took 1 and 2 in that one. So do we have any family or friends that want to come and join us in a picture? Because it's important that we celebrate the whole family and friends. Come on in. you don't get to be in pictures often that'll be memorialized. You're like, yeah, I don't want. Oh, should have done the picture with the flowers. Wasn't that nice? He gave her flowers. He gave her flowers. Yeah.
For 5 years, if you get flowers at 5 years, you know, at 10 you're elevated, man. You gotta step it up at 10.
Have a great day. Okay, give it just a moment to let the room clear. Okay, I didn't have any requests for any pulls on the consent agenda, but let me give it one shot out there just in case. No? No problem. We're going. No pulls? Okay, I'll take a motion then.
I move to approve the consent agenda consisting of item 8A, 8B, 9A, 10A, 10B, 10C, 10D, 10E, 10F, 10G, and 10H as presented.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. We don't have any items for Agenda 11, so we are now on Agenda Item 12A. This is discussion and possible action on a proposed collective bargaining agreement between Carson City and the Carson City Sheriff Supervisory Association on behalf of the Sheriff's Office employees with the rank of sergeant, to be retroactively effective beginning July 1, 2023 and expiring June 30, 2028, with an estimated fiscal impact of $4,821,043 above the 5-year projections from our fiscal year 24 budget, which we previously approved. Ms. Paulson.
I think you pretty much said all I was going to say. And so I just want to thank all the negotiating teams for all their hard work. And I'm glad I didn't get pulled over this morning because I feel like I did that the last time we did a deputy sheriff agreement. So that's all I have.
Thank you so much. I didn't have anyone with, anyone have any questions or anything? But no, I didn't have anyone that requested public comment on this item. So if there's none, no questions, I'll accept a motion. Somebody wants to make one? Who's up today? Ms. Schutte? Oh, you want to make a comment? Just, okay, go ahead.
Sorry, just real quick. My name is Brett Binley. I'm the Sheriff Supervisory Association president, and I do want to thank the city's negotiation team. We've worked pretty tirelessly. It's almost 2 jobs in one for about 7 months, so we get one of these things figured out. So a lot of hard work, especially with Ms. Hicks. I don't see her in the room, but we work most closely with her, Ms. Bruchetta, Ms. Russell, Dan Yu. I really do appreciate everybody's time putting all the effort into this agreement, and you guys considering it today.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Schutte?
I move to approve the agreement and to authorize the district attorney's office to make any necessary revisions that are clerical and not substantive when finalizing the agreement.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. There's no abstentions because everyone voted. Let the record reflect the vote was 4-1. Thank you. And thank you, and yay, 5 years. So you get a break for a little while because you have 20 more years to go. I just thought I'd already know. Oh, gosh, I'm trying really hard today to get these 20-year commitments. It's not working out. Okay. We're on item 12B, which is discussion and possible action on a proposed collective bargaining agreement between Carson City and the Carson City Firefighters Association, local number 2251, of the International Association of Firefighters on behalf of the Carson City Fire Department employees with the rank of battalion chief to be retroactively effective beginning July 1, 2023 and expiring June 30, 2027, with an estimated fiscal impact of $661,708 above the 5-year projection included in the fiscal year 2024 budget that was previously approved by us. Ms. Paulson, any additional comments on this one? Oh, wait, excuse me. May I have your disclosure, Supervisor Horton?
You may. NRS 281A 420 requires me to disclose a conflict of interest and abstain from voting when I have a disqualifying conflict. I have 2 sons employed with the Carson City Fire Department, and the proposed collective bargaining agreement here would modify the substantive terms, conditions, and benefits of employment for one of my sons. The judgment of a reasonable person in my position would be materially affected by my familial relationship. Therefore, I have a disqualifying conflict and will not be voting on this matter.
Thank you so much for the disclosure. So for the record, again, it's noted that Supervisor Horton will not be voting due to conflict. Ms. Paulson, any additional information you'd like to share?
No additional information, just once again thanking the negotiating teams. And I just want to say that's a wrap on 5 contracts in 1 year. And hopefully that doesn't happen for a while. I think next year we just have 1, so.
Good. Good. I didn't see any public comment set up for this one. Any questions or anything from the board? Then I will accept a motion. Supervisor Schutte?
I move to approve the agreement and to authorize the district attorney's office to make any necessary revisions that are clerical and not substantive when finalizing the agreement.
And I will give that a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. And any abstentions, please note.
I abstain.
Thank you so much. Please let the record reflect that the motion does pass with the 3 required votes. Supervisor White as the no vote and Supervisor Horton as the abstention. Thank you. Okay, well, that is a wrap. Now it's a real wrap. We're all done with negotiations for a while. Okay, we're now on to item 12C. This is discussion and possible action for the appointment of a member to our Carson City Culture and Tourism Authority, also known as CTA, as a representative for other commercial interests in Carson City for a 2-year term expiring on July 19, 2025. We have 2 candidates, and I think I saw them both here. Who is going to go first?
Ms. Spencer.
Elaine, do you want to come on up? Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I think you've been through, have you ever been through an interview process before?
Oh, yes.
Never. Okay.
Yes.
So then you know what we're going to do is we're each going to ask you a question or 2 and see if we can't figure out who the best fit is for this appointment. And I'm here to tell you, I think Carson City's pretty lucky today. I don't think there's a wrong choice ahead of us. So I really want to start off with thanking you for applying and wanting to be a part of the community and helping us.
Of course.
If you would for us, we recently just had a Mark Twain Festival that the CTA put on. Can you tell me what you think was a pro and a con of that? And if you were on the CTA board, what potentially would you do differently, if any?
Well, I was only able to drive by, not attend, but I did hear from other people and I read the articles. Great original idea. Mark Twain is a significant personality for Carson City and, you know, the Comstock area. It was well promoted. I can tell you, I did pick up all of the materials and watch the advertising. And I think maybe for that particular event, knowing that McAvoy Lane is probably, I believe he's retiring. It would have been nice to have maybe a contest with a new Mark Twain representative because we're going to need one. and maybe downtown, the vending area, maybe making it a little closer to the actual businesses or sprinkling them around downtown versus trying to put them in one spot would have been good. It would have filled in the gaps downtown. That was just me driving by. So I had plans to attend, but was not able to make it. Overall, it was a great idea. Great first year, wonderful original concept.
So should we continue it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Supervisor Giomi?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Elaine. The CTA often sponsors new events in order to help bring out-of-town tourists to the community's hotels and motels. How will you evaluate if the sponsorship cost is worth the investment of CTA funds?
Well, heads and beds is one, since it is, based on lodging numbers. The attendance, if we can get more of even our locals out, and have them bring families, friends, things like that, that would be a bonus. But overall tourism, trying to calculate and identify our tourist numbers, we're going to basically have to be involved in the events, walk around and talk to the people and see what brought them here in the first place, and then build on that.
Supervisor White?
No question.
Supervisor Horton?
Good morning.
Good morning.
What would you, what do you think draws tourists to our town besides our historic past?
Our outdoor recreation. I think we have a trail system that is incredible. It's very rare for a town this size to just be able to look around and see where you can hike and bike. Outdoor recreation, but we can also, still yet, as a former GM of the B&T Railway, I recognized the value of that track and the fact that Carson City is a major owner of that track. We need to build on that. And the history, again, it's part history, but it's also just it's a trip. It's something to enjoy. And original events, just like Mark Twain, the Mark Twain event. If you can find new and original events to bring people to Carson City, people, after COVID, people are seeking places to go and bring their families. And then also your outdoor tourism, your sports capital idea, that was great. I see that when we have swim meets or soccer meets or baseball or softball here in town, how many people it attracts. With Carson City, it's uncongested, it's beautiful, it's near Lake Tahoe. It's got huge potential.
Thank you.
Supervisor Schutte?
Hello, and thank you
Hi.
for applying. You kind of just spoke to this, but my question is, what are several strategies you see CTA using to draw in more visitors and increase that length of stay?
Well, I am familiar with the CTA staff, and you've got amazing staff over there. They're always creating ideas, and the board working with the staff to help and encourage them to come up with new concepts, but also maybe even looking beyond our own state to look for ideas. I say new and original, and I do mean that, but there was always something somewhere that was successful that we can play off of. And that being experience, I did start the Ruby Mountain Balloon Festival in Elko, and that came as, and it's an event that's still going on. You know, I think we're on our 15th year after originally coming up with the idea and having it brought there, and it was because it was held somewhere else, and we had all the criteria to make something successful there. The rail bikes, same thing. It was happening in other places, but why couldn't it be here? So original ideas, Truckee Railroad Days also. That was when I started 25 years ago. Or I've been involved in events. No, it's 25 years ago. So the concepts are there, and if Carson City has something to offer in such events, music festivals, there's so much potential in this area. And again, I'm going to go right back to it's Carson City. It's uncongested, it's beautiful. They can find other things to do while they're here. And so working with the CTA staff and giving them the encouragement and the positive feedback is something that, it's always helpful. Being on the other side and working so many years in tourism, the support of the board's critical.
Thank you.
Okay. Elaine, is there anything else you'd just like us to consider for why we should select you for the board position?
Well, I am not really new to Carson City. I've been around the area, Reno, Virginia City, Gold Hill, and now Carson City, which is our permanent home. I've invested in 2 commercial businesses here, and I want to be able to volunteer my time back to the community. I've always been involved. I've never lived somewhere where I wasn't involved or I had something to give back to the community. And Carson City's my last stop. This is my forever home.
So at least 25 years. I think I'm on that roll today.
Yeah.
Just might as well get that on the record.
Yeah, we're going to add 5 more years.
Yeah,
I'll be
there
here
you
for
go.
a long time.
Okay. Well, thank you again so much for applying. You were the first, so you're welcome to stay and listen to the other candidate, and then we'll make our decision
Okay.
after that. So
Thank you.
since you're first, you can stay and listen. Thank you again so much. Good morning. Good. State Farm is there, though. They're in the room supporting you.
Maybe he's sponsored or you sponsored.
Uh-huh. Good morning, Ms. McKay.
morning.
Thank you so much for applying for this position.
Yes.
We really appreciate it.
Wait a second.
It's not going to let you turn it off.
Could somebody take this outside? I've never had that happen before. It's AI.
Yeah. It's a talking away, that's for sure. So again, I just want to thank you for applying for the position. We
Yes.
really appreciate that. How the process works is each of us will ask you a question or two or whatever as we deem fit. And then at the conclusion of that, I'll let you make like just a closing little statement, and then the board here will decide.
Certain.
So thank you so much again. So my question is, recently we had an event, Mark Twain Days.
Yes, we did.
And I'm interested on whether you think the event should continue and what is some pros of the event, any cons, anything you do differently, unless you don't think we should continue. So I'm interested in your thoughts about the Mark Twain event.
What I loved about it was the idea of taking something so iconic and worldwide represented in Mark Twain and the difference he's made to historically and our culture, and to claim it. I like when Carson City claims its awesomeness. And so the spirit of that event and really setting the tone for future, I thought that it was really, really wise. And I thought for first year it did well.
So you would continue it?
I would,
Okay.
as long as I don't have to sweep, the floors or what.
I know. That was good. Supervisor Giomi.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Kitty, for applying. The Convention and Tourism Authority often sponsors events in order to help bring out-of-town tourists to the communities, hotels and motels. I want to know how you would evaluate if the sponsorship is worth the investment of CTA funds.
Yes, categorically, because I think one of our challenges here in Carson City is that we are this great capital city, and people come for that, and we get overflow from tourists to Tahoe and whatnot. But to the degree that we have events that magnetize people here, it's absolutely a great investment for our entire community. Absolutely.
And how would you evaluate it then? Its success or failure?
Well, I don't know the metrics that are used currently, but I also work at the hospital. I'm very data driven. It's like X amount of money invested. What was the reach? What is the impact? There's so many data sources that we can use now to really see not just the number of people that came, but by the impact it had. For instance, I was at a meeting yesterday about the golf tournament up at Edgewood, and Steph Curry making a hole-in-one. The global reach and seeing Tahoe in the background, so you can always look at how many people attended and what your dollars were in the lodging and food and that sort of thing, but you have to also look longer term and how you have been presented globally and how the impact will keep rolling in.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Horton.
Good morning. What would draw tourists to our town aside from our historic past? What do we have besides that?
The beautiful surroundings, the hiking, the mountain biking, the cool restaurants, music venues, and the people. It can't be understated when people do come and they feel the warm, welcoming vibe that we have here. I think just really highlighting the heart of who we are in the beauty of where we live is really a draw.
Thank you.
Supervisor Shooty.
Hello, and thank you for applying. What are several strategies you see CTA using to draw in more visitors and increase length of stay?
So that is an excellent question. From being on the outside, I would first like to know what the strategies have been that we've employed. For me to speak to that now would just be guesswork. I, as a citizen and as a business owner, I can surmise what may be happening, but I'd feel a little uncomfortable answering that in any sort of intelligent way. But I do believe that the first thing that I would want to do is really understand historically what have we done, historically what has worked, what can we amplify that is working, and then it's really interesting to me. I'm also over communications marketing at the hospital, and public relations as a activity is now very, very secondary to data and Google and analytics and what people are searching. And so I would imagine that we could maybe get a little more granular in the data analytics and pushing that. It's not my nature to say that, but it's the reality we've evolved into. So I imagine that might be a voice that I would bring.
Okay, Kitty, is there anything else you would like to share with us of why we should select you for the position?
Well, I'd say if any of you know me, one thing I have is passion. And one of my greatest passions is for our community. I moved here 30 years ago from Japan. I speak fluent Japanese. I used to be in the tourist industry and the manufacturing industry there. And when I very first moved here, I thought, oh my gosh, golly, where am I? It's very, very different than a metropolitan area in Japan. And I've rooted myself here very, very proudly. And I have a passion for sharing our awesomeness with the world, and not just globally, but in our region. I think even our neighbors don't know how cool we are. So it would be an honor to serve if I was chosen.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, well, now we get the tough job of deciding. I feel fortunate we had two superb candidates. Like I said in the beginning, you weren't here, but I don't think we can go wrong. We're not usually fortunate enough to be in that position, but today we are. So if anybody wants to go first.
I'll
Supervisor
go,
Giomi.
since I'm our rep on the CTA. Yeah, I am continually amazed to both of your points that what a great community we have, and that's emphasized every time we open a position, and we have amazing candidates, and both of you fall into that category. Since David Peterson has taken over as the executive director of the CTA, and since I've been on the board, one of the directions that we've provided him and worked very hard to move in the direction of is data-driven decisions. We spend a lot of time gathering data from visitors at events. We take that data and use it with our marketing consultants. And we can tell you where our visitors are coming from. We can tell you what percentage of an event draws visitors from what location. And so for me, when Kitty talked about data driving, where we are and where we've been going, that spoke to me because it's exactly where we are as a board. So really, because of that, my vote would be for Kitty.
Yep. Does anybody else want to comment? Supervisor Shooty? Could have let you go first.
Supervisor Giomi will enjoy this because me and my coffee cups, the themes. And so this was really hard reading through the applications. It's like, oh man, I hate, it's definitely difficult when there are two applicants, more so, of course, than three or more. And so this one is just kind of a fun tongue in cheek, but it's so true. Hard decisions are never easy.
Yeah.
So, amazing replies, amazing answers, amazing insight, amazing celebration of community. I actually am to speak to looking globally. That is the tipping point for me. I love that idea of really celebrating Carson City, and not only throughout the United States, but also that globally, and also looking to the region, to our neighbors, celebrating history, but also then really using the data to determine the next steps, looking at what we have been doing, looking at what has been working, and then looking at how do we build on that, or how do we improve it. So while, oh my gosh, it's 100, I think I'm going to go with Kitty on this one. And yet, if there are three for Elaine, I am so happy to then be supportive of that. So,
Okay. Does anybody want to? You want me to go? Or you want to go? So I know, because I think her coffee cup is right. How do you make a choice between two great candidates? And so then what I do when I listen to the interviews and I read through the applications and I look, so for me, one of the other things I do is look at the current composition of the board, right? If I'm down to now, I have to make a decision between two great candidates, which one will, I don't want to say directly fit into the existing board, because I think new ideas and somebody with passion and all of that matters too, right? Because sometimes a new comment is just the kernel you're looking for, and that helps. And so one of the things in the applications, so I started looking and said, oh, she opened a new business. So did she. Darn it. So I can't, right? You start doing all this little scoring stuff. And so, but one of the things that Elaine brings to the table in her new business, it's all about bringing people to Carson City. So if And then I tried to decide on your music, was that to bring other, I'm like, oh shoot, was that to bring other people to the community or more community based? And I'm like, I'm not sure I know the answer to that. So, but I do know that Elaine is looking to put on shows and things that bring vendors and bring economic development and opportunities potentially for those vendors to even be heads in beds because they're going to be here to do a show for 3 or 4 days. So I looked at that saying that she's maybe already walking the talk. Not that, again, I don't know. You're both so wonderful. And when I looked at your applications, I'm like, well, just what Lisa said. Well, that's score one. Oops, she got that one too. Whoops, she got that point. But I think that Elaine might bring her current experiences of putting shows together to help determine the applications from Stacy's question of how do you know who to give the money to? Right? And so, I don't know. I like Elaine for that reason, for what she could potentially bring to the board, even though I can also support Kitty. Like I said, wow, how do we get such good choices?
They're both excellent candidates. Great job. You know, we are super lucky to have people who want to be involved as much as you do, and we appreciate it more than you realize. From my point of view, I have to tell you, I liked what Elaine had to say. You know, when you can look outside the history of our organization, our city, you know, and take the bigger picture in, it helps me. I think we need to expand on that. And you both touched on it, but I really felt like, Elaine, you drove the point home. So that's kind of where I'm at, but great job for both of you, actually.
So the one that didn't ask a question, do you have a thought? Supervisor White. Tough choice. He's going to say ditto to everything.
Well, you know, having not asked the question, probably shouldn't really chime in, but
Oh.
I think I'm caught in the middle here, literally. Honestly, when I look at the life experience of both people, that's what makes the decision for me. That overall, where have you been? What have you been doing? How have you really come to being in Carson City and wanting to sit in this position? And I think by a tiny margin, again, I usually don't fall into that crowd of hard decisions are never easy to make. I'm the kind of person that can make a decision. This is hard. I think by a really small margin, I think Kitty has the wider experience. And I'll support either way, but.
Okay, so that was 3 for Kitty and 2 for Elaine. So Supervisor Giomi, would you like to make the motion?
I would, Mayor, thank you. I move to appoint Kitty McKay as the CTA representative for other commercial interests for a 2-year term expiring July 19th, 2025, with my thanks to both her and Elaine.
Is there a second?
I second, and when another opening
Please apply, Elaine.
becomes available, please, Elaine, please apply, please, because you're amazing, and this is. I'll get you a copy of the coffee cup.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. And again, thank you. And I know that at-large position, it'll come open. So we already know a candidate. Thank you so much. And thank you, Ms. McKay. We look to your globalism, bring it to Carson City. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to recess as the Board of Supervisors. And I'm going to call the Liquor and Entertainment Board to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Chair Bagwell.
Here.
Member Furlong.
Here.
Member Giomi.
Here.
Member Horton. Member Schutte. Member White. You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. I have opening public comment for the Liquor and Entertainment Board. liquor and entertainment. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So, let me say that one more time. All right, we're now on agenda item number 17, which is approval of our minutes of January 19th, 2023. Do I have any corrections, motion, anything?
Motion, Mayor, to approve the Carson City Liquor and Entertainment Board meeting minutes from 19 January 2023 as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. We're now on to agenda item 18A. Discussion and possible action regarding an application from Save Mart Supermarkets LLC for packaged liquor licenses with John Norman as the liquor manager for the 3 store locations. Ms. Sullivan?
Thank you, Mayor. Before I present this item, I'd like to make a couple of really short introductions. Natalie Keel, who's our business license specialist, and she oversees sort of the liquor licensing, is with us this morning. And I'll just mention, in 2022 and 2023, we had 11 hearings. So you don't see those, but there were 11 hearings, 31 liquor applications were approved, 3 were denied. So it's rare that we make the referral to you, but Natalie's really our lead. So when you hear compliments about how nice they are in the business license, that would be Natalie. And next to Natalie is Erin Lewis. Erin Lewis is a political science student at Western Nevada College. I met her at one of your meetings. And I said, why are you here? You're so young. And she was here to learn about local government, and she followed up with me, and we were able to put her to work, and she's helping Natalie on some of the liquor license things. So they are both here to support me and support Save Mart. Okay, this is a request for a packaged liquor license for 3 grocery stores with John Norman, who's joining me at the table this morning as the liquor manager. The liquor hearings officer considered this request at a hearing on June 30th, 2023. At the time of the hearing, the sheriff was not recommending approval, as the applicant for liquor manager had not complied with the fingerprinting requirements, so we did not have a background check. In the intervening time, the applicant has been fingerprinted. We do have the results of that, and the sheriff is supportive of this applicant as the liquor manager, with the qualification that these 3 stores supplement the liquor managers with on-site liquor managers. So Mr. Norman is not on-site here in Carson City, and the sheriff has requested that the 2 Save Marts and Food Max identify people within each of their stores to be the local liquor manager. Mr. Norman can still be the liquor manager. Food Max and Save Mart are supportive of that requirement and would ask for 90 days to be able to identify and get that second liquor manager on board and approved. Also, there was a comment, if you looked in the packet, from the health department regarding standard operating procedures, indicating that those were outstanding. Those were outstanding at the time of the liquor hearing on June 30th. In the intervening time, those standard operating procedures have been submitted to the health department, and the health department has found those to be acceptable. So I am here to recommend approval of the packaged liquor license for the 3 stores with a condition that within 90 days, each of the stores identifies a supplemental liquor manager who is an on-site employee. I'm happy to answer questions, and as I mentioned, Mr. Norman from Save Mart's here to be appointed as the liquor manager for all 3 stores, and I'm sure he's happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Does any member have a question? Supervisor Giomi?
So the recommendation is that those 3 managers would go through the same process? They're going to have to be liquor managers, correct?
That would be correct. So you're allowed to have more than 1 liquor manager. So we're okay with Mr. Norman, but because of the nature of what a liquor manager is responsible to do, it's a difficult thing to do remotely.
So, here's my secondary concern. These companies sold about a year and several months ago. Ultimately, it's the responsibility of the business to ensure their license is intact. And they had no liquor manager for over a year. And procedurally, we didn't catch that. So, I'm not happy in the gap. We need to take liquor licenses seriously. And I'm concerned that we didn't, and I'm concerned that they didn't. So those are 2 big concerns that I have.
So I'm going to echo that. And so I'm going to, before I can even approve you, Mr. Norman, right?
Yes.
I need for you to explain to me why your company ignored the law and did not get a liquor manager, and that for 15 months. And if I'm reading the packet correctly, once your company was even notified that you had an issue, it still took you months to comply with even getting your fingerprints. So
Right.
that's not giving me good, positive hope that you're going to be a strong liquor manager taking note of our rules. And so you're going to have to convince me as to why I should have faith in the Save Mart brand doing what they're supposed to do.
Right.
We need a liquor manager for a reason. And so help me understand why I should give you the license, why
Yeah.
we should do it.
First of all, good morning, and thanks for giving me an opportunity to be here. If I were in your shoes, I'd be asking the same questions as a operator of a business, right? We didn't do what we were supposed to do. There were a lot of people involved in that delay, but I accept responsibility for that on behalf of the company. So that was my fault. I can tell you from where I sit, I did not realize the urgency behind getting that taken care of. Like, I'm just speaking for myself. I didn't know I had to be here by a certain date. Once I was notified that I had to be here, I was here within 48 hours, submitted the application, and did all the fingerprinting. But not knowing is not an excuse. So I accept responsibility for the delay on behalf of the company. We take this serious, and I know that going forward, we're committed to doing the right thing, and following all the proper steps along the way.
So what is the penalty? I guess what my concern is I look for continuity and consistency and application of the rules. So explain to me other people that do what you do, they're not allowed to sell the liquor during the time, so they're not making money. Your company ignored the law and continued to sell alcohol and made a lot of money. And if I were to award yours today, there was absolutely no penalty for violating the rules. So that's where I'm struggling is
Right.
I'm going to reward you today and say, okay, you broke the rules, but so what? And I'm just not comfortable doing that. So that's really what I'm
Sure.
asking you is to, what is it that I do to the message and to every other liquor holder in Carson City? I guess that's what I'm, right? Well,
Sure.
it's okay
Fair questions.
for Save Mart to not do what they're supposed to do, then how do I hold the next guy accountable and the next guy accountable? And
Yeah.
that there's absolutely no penalty, no fines, nothing?
Fair question, and I'm not familiar with the inner workings of this process, or but I think I could speak on behalf of the organization that we would be willing to pay some type of fine or penalty, because we acknowledge that we didn't do what we were supposed to do. If that helps.
It does. It does help for me. So I'll just for myself on the record say that I really would like our staff to review the rules. I think that you have admitted that you did something wrong, which is big in my eyes, but I would like the district attorney's office to, work together to see what the appropriate penalty is pursuant to our laws. And that's the only way I'm going to be comfortable today. I can't just say it's a nothing. I just can't do that.
I understand for folks that would follow in similar footsteps to the Save Mart companies that doesn't set a good precedent. So
Right.
I can appreciate that.
Right. So I want you to remain in our community. I want you to be a viable business. Of course I do.
Right.
Right. I want to make that perfectly clear too. I
Sure.
just need all the companies that are selling liquor in Carson City to follow the rules. So I might be comfortable with the condition that within the 90 days, you have the on-site managers that
Correct.
you, so let me just even ask about that. So I think I'd be more comfortable putting a little more teeth into it, that they have to, within, 7 days, they have to get the applications in the office because the fingerprints, I understand, take a while. And so if we're even gonna have a chance to make the 90-day rule work, I want to see those applications within 7 days to our office with your 3.
Yeah, I think we would have
On-site.
to do that to meet the 90-day requirement.
You're gonna have
It's-
to,
it's gonna
so
have to
I'd
be.
rather say within 7 days, you'll have the local managers identified on an application and fingerprinted at the sheriff's office, and then directing the district attorney's office to look at any viable penalties that are appropriate for this case. And those are my comments on it. Supervisor Schutte?
Hello, I actually have 2 comments. So Hope, you had mentioned the Health and Human Services and that. Can you say that again? So the deadline wasn't met, is that correct?
The hearing was on June 30th, because once the sheriff transmits his recommendation, the hearings officer has 30 days to act on the application. So the hearings officer held a hearing. At the time of that hearing, June 30th, the health department had not received the standard operating procedures from the stores. In the intervening time, the health department has received those standard operating procedures. I verified that with the health department yesterday, and they have found those procedures to be adequate.
Thank you. In terms of not understanding how timely and the importance of getting the information in, there's a letter in the packet dated May 4th saying, I just spoke with the applicant again and reminded him that he needs to come in for fingerprinting. He and the corporation who's supposed to make the appointment seem in no hurry to get this done, which will delay getting his background done. Yeah, this is, between that and the not having the standard operating procedures submitted in a timely manner, that to me doesn't seem like good community. That just doesn't seem like good business. And I understand that sometimes there's mitigating factors, and one or the other I could feel a little more comfortable. I'm just struggling with, there seems to be a pattern, even with reminders. I'm wondering is it possible that the lead manager for this position, can he or she be actually based out of Carson City and oversee the 3 stores? Is that a possibility, and starting this over? Or am I creating more work, and is the oversight of the 3 within Carson, but just really, like, you got to be on top of things. That's just good business, and that creates, kind of a belief and trust in the company. How can we work together on this to not have this happen?
I acknowledge that the Hope's team had reached out, asking for me to come for fingerprints. I don't deny that, but I was never given a date, right? Like there was no specific date to be here. And what my office was trying to do was coordinate all 5 jurisdictions. So on that day, I needed to be in Carson City. I needed to be in the city of Reno. I needed to be in Washoe County. I needed to be with the city of Sparks. So they were trying to allow me the benefit of doing all those visits in one day. That's what they were trying to do.
Can I ask, was there ever any correspondence to our agency about the delay or the attempts to, why fingerprinting hasn't taken place, or some of the, the process that you were going through and the company?
I can only speak for myself. I know I verbalized that my admin team was trying to coordinate one trip to Carson, to Nevada, to do all 5 jurisdictions in one trip. And subsequently, that's what we did with the other 4 jurisdictions as well. They were all, I did the same process in all 5 on that day. So that's what we were trying to do, is coordinate, one trip versus 5. In terms of your second question, clearly I live in California. I'm responsible for 80 stores with the company. All the Nevada stores fall under my responsibility. That's why I was down as the liquor manager. We thought that was going to be acceptable. In reading the law and statutes, we thought that was acceptable. We've subsequently learned that that's not what Carson City wishes. So we then went to the next level and tried to find an individual that resides in Carson City that could be responsible for all 3, being that they're more local. Our district manager in this territory lives in Reno. So he doesn't fit the bill either. So where we are today is we need to find all 3 of our store managers that operate our facilities. They each individually need to go qualify, and that's what we're asking for 90 days to be able to do. With me today is Jen Beck. Jen operates the Food Max store on Highway 50. So she's already started the process for her store. And what we'd like to do is identify the other 2 individuals in the store on North Carson and South Carson to do the same thing that Jen's already started. And that way we would have someone that lives and resides here in Carson City as a liquor manager in each of the 3 stores. We think that's the best approach. That's what you've asked for. That's what we're willing to do, and we'll do that as soon as we possibly can. The only downside of that is that we do move managers from store to store from time to time. So we'll have to be very diligent in that when there's a change, that we stay on top of this and get in front of the process. Otherwise, we'll find ourselves in the same situation we are today. So.
Thank you. And I think staying on top of it is important. And I think it's about being in the area, being present, being available.
Right.
Thanks.
Jennifer Beck. I just want to let you guys know that I am born and raised Carson City. Okay, I've been here my entire 51 years of my life. I take a lot of pride, and I love this community. I support the community. Most recently, you've probably seen me in the newspaper, Carson Now, about the fish donation that I just did to help out the community. I have a passion for Carson City, and I also have a passion for my work. Throughout my career with Save Mart Companies, I've been there 14 years now. I have worked for every single store. I've worked for 551 South Store. I've worked for 552 North Store, and now I'm the store manager at 449 Food Max. I did submit 3 applications for all 3 stores prior to today's hearing, and I just wanted that to be on record, that I was able and still could be the sole liquor manager of all 3 stores if that was something that you guys would consider. I am dedicated. I'm not going anywhere. I live in Carson City. My family lives here, and this is my home. So that's really all I have to add to the hearing, just to have consideration for. Thank you.
Supervisor Giomi?
Hope, to Jen, if I made it just to comment on what you said, I personally don't have an issue if there's one manager for 3 stores, as long as can adequately cover the stores. I mean, that's the issue. I don't know if that's allowed, but I don't know why I don't know why it wouldn't be. So I guess that's a question I have for you. On top of that question is, if we, so excuse my ignorance, can you have more than one liquor manager?
Yes, you can have more than one liquor manager, and it just so happens when Jen came in, I overheard her introduce herself at the counter, and I came out of my office and intercepted her and dragged her into my office, and we were on the phone with Save Mart's attorney and the head of compliance at Save Mart. And I tell you that only to tell you, I think there's something to be said for physically being in the store and observing your employees. Jen's responsible for the Food Max store. I think there's something to be said for having the manager of each of the other two Save Marts being responsible for the conduct of their employee. My staff did nothing wrong when Jen walked into our office. Absolutely nothing. But I knew the sensitivity of this, so I inserted myself. And I think when you're on site, you have that ability to see one little crack in the armor and you can jump on it. It doesn't mean somebody did something wrong, but you see it going in the wrong direction. And that's why, I mean, and the sheriff can speak for himself, but we've really evolved the liquor hearing to where we now have a uniformed officer in the hearing, speaking to every single liquor manager about the sheriff's office expectations. The health department attends these hearings and they speak to their expectation. It's really an educational opportunity. And we let them know we're not going to tolerate mistakes. They can't happen. So I appreciate what you're saying. And I think that's sort of what Save Mart was thinking. But in talking to Jen about the logistics of it, when she came in, she wasn't even certain exactly what the responsibilities were. I think there's really a value to having an on-site manager at each store that can't be achieved with one covering 3 stores.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I'm just trying to understand the practicality of making sure that there's a manager of record so that if there's a transition, as he talked about, we don't have a situation where they go a year or whatever, 15 months illegally selling liquor. And so, you know, if you can have more than one licensee, then maybe Jen is the licensee that stays constant with the managers at each one, who may or may not change over the course of time. So that's all. I mean, look, ultimately, it's, I think it's Save Mart's problem to solve in the guidelines of the direction that we provide. And so how do we make sure what you're saying gets carried out? I mean, the motion would then have to indicate that the liquor manager must be on premises, and that's a requirement, absent a vacancy in the position or something similar to that, right? I'm trying to get at the practicality of how this motion looks.
One of the 4. It actually, I'm going to say the opposite. I'm going to say that the benefit to Save Mart about agreeing to have 3 on-site managers, you also have you as the main
Correct.
liquor manager. So that gives you the depth of 4 people on your license. So the odds of you having 4 vacancies at any one time should allow you, if you move a store manager, the opportunity to let Jennifer, right? Sorry. Jennifer handle the other store while you're getting another manager on site. So I think it actually behooves you to agree to this because it gives you depth versus only you on the license.
So
You
we're
go
saying,
and there's nothing.
we're saying all the managers are on all the stores?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Is that
it's to
what-
the license. There's Jennifer as a liquor manager, there's
I don't think
Mr.
that's
Norman.
I don't think that's what Hope was contemplating.
Yeah, the objective is to have an on-site person who serves as the liquor manager, so they can, in addition
I
to
get
Mr.
that.
Norman.
I get
Okay,
that.
that's what Supervisor
But you're
Giommi
still
was
gonna have a
asking.
vacancy sometimes. So
Occasionally
it
you
gives
will.
him, can use that one for the month while he gets another one, or 100 days for the new guy to be fingerprinted, right? Because I think that's our issue that we're talking about is for the general public, we background check the people that are our liquor managers, and it takes up to 100 days to get the results back from the FBI. So that can create a gap. And so I'm looking for a way that, one, kind of what you guys were after, is if you get a vacancy in an on-site store manager, that you will, within the 7 days, get a new one identified and come in and make an application. That's what we're trying to
Understood.
drive home here, is that you recognize, but I am comfortable with the fact that you could notify our office and say, hey, so-and-so just moved. and they're no longer with our store at this location, Jennifer's going to handle it. We'll have a new applicant in within the month.
Right.
That's what we're looking for, is compliance and that you take it serious. I think that's what we're all after.
So let me ask you to clarify what the mayor's saying. If you license Jen at Food Max and Mr. Norman is licensed across the board, right, to all three businesses, and Jen is licensed to Food Max, is there a provision for either her or Mr. Norman to say, hey, the North Carson store is vacant. We want to move Jen to cover both until we apply for a new person? Are there provisions in the ordinance to allow that?
Yes, I want to back up. I don't want to be so specific. The ordinance recognizes that from time to time, the person who's the liquor manager may die or they may no longer be with the company. That's regardless of whether you have 3 stores or 1 store. So when that occurs, there will be a gap in time. And so I think that's what the mayor's referencing. And I think what the mayor's saying is the benefit to Save Mart in sort of having 4 instead of 1 is, should that person leave, you got 3 other people who can pitch in. And I'm going to say pitch in as opposed to substitute, although Mr. Norman is covering all 3. In my conversations with the sheriff, not just on this, but on other applications, the sheriff has always, and he can certainly speak for himself, but he has always advocated for an on-site presence for the liquor manager just because of the nature of what you're doing. You're making sure that everyone who's selling or serving liquor is doing so lawfully. And you're obviously going to be more successful having your manager on site than not on site. So I think the mayor's just recognizing if you have more, you can cover in the case of somebody leaving.
I get it. I was just
Yeah.
trying to understand the
Right.
practicality of
Yeah.
it and how it would, I guess the logistics of it and how it would actually work.
Right. And so
Because I
the
don't want to make a
reality,
recommendation that then
Can't implement.
can't be implemented.
they only have 30 days. It says an updated application has to be filed within 30 days after the occurrence of one of the following events, either the death of the person, a corporate change, or the person responsible for directing day-to-day sale of liquor has changed.
Thank you.
So the code does accommodate that.
Supervisor White?
Thank you. Hi, Jen. I really appreciate your comments this morning.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
What we have here, in my mind, is this corporation, generally, and most specifically Mr. Norman, has shown a willingness to operate far outside any reasonable expectation. You started your comments this morning with, you didn't know any better. Later on, you told us corporate and you were sitting around reading the laws trying to figure out what to do. I'm not buying your story. And today, you will not get my support under any circumstance. I'm a big fat no.
Anybody else want to comment? No? Is there any public comment on this item? Mr. French?
Denny French, Carson City, Nevada. The situation is 15 months in. And had I go to Save Mart, I'm a regular there. It's accessible walking. It's a neighborhood store for me. I don't use alcohol myself, but I don't drink, period. I don't eat red meat and or pork. But the main thing is that I have every sympathy for everyone involved here because we've all sort of been vandalized in a way as far as a community, as far as other stores involved. I'd like to see any fines or any reprobation to go to perhaps places that deal with addiction or charities and such, but then you have to pay the fees that it took for Hope and others to process this and review it and such. I don't know how they're going to operate without a license. I like it to move forward so that they can start operation, but I think that the reaction of myself personally is that it's not excusable what happened, in the sense that I can say, oops, because I do those all the time. This is a bigger oops than I can, swallow that way. But thank you very much.
Thank you. Do I have any other public comment? Okay, I'm going to bring it back here for a motion discussion. Supervisor Giommi. Oh, I don't think there's a good answer here, so go ahead.
As I think about it and think about your comment in terms of, a penalty, and I don't even know there's anything in the law, and perhaps the penalty is that the application gets denied now and they can come back in 90 days. So because of that, I'm going to move to deny liquor application number 007940-2023, application number 007943-2023, and 007945-2023.
On discussion?
Yeah, hi, Adam
Mr.
Tully,
Tully.
Deputy District Attorney. So there are specified grounds for denial. You'd have to make a factual finding of unsuitability. And it's the grounds for unsuitability. The first is some sort of criminal conviction in the last 5 years, which wouldn't apply. The second would be a person intentionally falsified information or omitted information from a license application. I don't know if there's evidence to support that. Person under the age of 21 years, I don't believe there's evidence to support that. Person in arrears for child support payments, I don't believe there's evidence to support that. Or a person whom the board determines is not suitable to receive a liquor license under the provisions of this chapter, having due consideration for the proper protection of public health, safety, morals, good order, and general welfare of the inhabitants of Carson City. That's that. I believe that there's if the board were inclined to make a finding, that'd probably be the best place to put it if that finding's acceptable.
I will add to the motion that I make that finding, given that last statement, and the fact that corporately they had or should have had knowledge that it is a requirement to have a liquor manager, and for 15 months they operated without one, which in my mind is outside the law. So that's my finding.
Continue your
And
second.
I would concur with that. They've demonstrated a willingness to not operate in a manner that's acceptable.
So on discussion, so I want a penalty. I think I made that clear from the beginning. I want the penalty to fit the issue. I am a huge proponent of not, I think everyone that knows me well enough that I don't want to crush your business, any business in Carson City, but I want compliance. So I need to understand the reality, just as indicated. So if we do not grant this licensure, this store manager today, the next steps are that, Jennifer, you've told us on the record, so I'm not disclosing anything, that you applied. You've already gone in. Have you fingerprinted? I have not. Okay, so we're approximately 90 days out from the opportunity for our staff to approve Jennifer as the store manager. So I just want clear on the record that what we're indicating then is that all 3 stores will remove the liquor from their store and shall not sell liquor until Jennifer's application is approved. And I want to make sure that we as a board understand what we're voting on and what we're doing. versus.
Very
I'm-
clear.
I get that you are. I want the public, I want everyone to understand what the motion means, and I want Save Mart to know what the motion is saying is we are not going to allow them to sell alcohol in their stores until they have a liquor manager that is approved.
And I would say
And
on
it
the
can't
record.
be him.
I would
mean,
say, well,
I
would say on the record that I would support the discussions here on the reapplication, where each store has a manager on site.
Mayor,
They can't get done for 90 days.
I understand that.
Okay.
I'm saying in the future.
Okay.
Mayor, may I have a 5-minute break to consult with the DA?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I could use the ladies' room anyway, so we're in recess till 10. back to order. We're on discussion. We have a motion on the floor to deny the licenses based on the condition of the record that found the liquor manager to be unsuitable. We're on discussion at this moment. I would like to just put a thought out there before we vote on this, that we also have an opportunity, if we would like to discover. Oh,
Sorry, I just.
Oh,
Went
okay.
MRDA.
okay. So just for a thought for the record, for consideration before we vote on this issue, is I don't believe that Mr. Norman has shown us good faith in following the rules and things. He has today on the record indicated that he would follow through and be diligent. And so I want to give him an opportunity to be diligent, but you're going to have to show me. And so I just want you all to consider the show me is we would not approve your license for liquor manager for 10 days because you have to show me that you are going to comply with what you just committed to do on the record, which was to give me an on-site store manager, and that you would get those applications into our community development office. And so at this point, I need a show me. Show me the way that you brought faith back to us. It also gives me something that I was looking for, and I think we're all looking for, is the penalty, right? So that would be 10 days that you would have to remove the liquor and you could not sell liquor at your 3 locations. And so I just offer that as a compromise or a thought before we vote on denying his application and causing at least a 90-day no sale. If he doesn't bring the applications and everything is committed, then you don't get the license and that's on you. But I want to give you an opportunity to show this board and this community that you can be trusted and that you can follow through with what you say. So I offer that up, and I'll let you just make any last comment before we vote on the motion.
I apologize, just for clarity, it's a minimum of 10 days. If Jen and 2 other folks showed up tomorrow, it's not a 1 day, it's 10 day regardless, right, of how.
That's your penalty.
Okay.
For not complying.
And just for my understanding, because I'll have to, communicate with other folks and have to explain this to them. Today's hearing was about an application for new licenses, right? But in this process, we're effectively revoking the existing ones that are in place. Is that?
You don't have a license
You're
because
not
you don't have a
licensed.
manager. You haven't been licensed for 15 months. You don't have a manager. You can't have a license without a manager.
At the last hearing, that specific question was asked, and the current license was still in good standing, was the response. It was still active. And I'm just trying to understand the process.
I understand your question.
How is that possible?
The license runs a fiscal year. The hearing was on June 30th. On June 30th, they had paid for that license. That license was paid. We're now in July. It's a new fiscal year. It's a new license this year. And the license has not been issued for this fiscal year because there has not been a liquor manager.
So he has no valid license today.
It has not been issued.
Right. You do not have a
Can
license.
you effectively have a license without a manager?
You are supposed to have a liquor manager. That said, this brought to light a situation, obviously, and the mayor's spoken to it, you've spoken to it. And what we have done internally is we have conducted our own audit and to make sure that every single liquor license, the liquor manager who we have on record as the approved liquor manager is indeed functioning as the liquor manager. We have found there are other businesses where that is not occurring, and we are pursuing corrections with those businesses as we speak. That has started, but this actually, to be honest with you, Save Mart brought it to light.
So I guess I'm still not, I guess I still don't have an, excuse me, an answer to my question. If, let's say you issue a business license or a liquor license today to Mayor's Pub, and Lori's a liquor manager today, and she operates for a month, and then, sorry, Lori, passes away.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Okay, so now she's no longer with us, God bless her, and can they still operate?
30 days.
Per 413-115, which talks about the death or change of person listed on the license for up to 30 days.
Okay, so when Save Mart changed ownership in March of 2022, that started the 30 days. Give or take, maybe it's 40 days, whatever the case may be.
Roughly, there were a couple things with Save Mart. My understanding is they had an identified liquor manager who had passed away prior to that even.
Okay,
So,
so
All things being equal, 30 days from March, whatever date they.
right, well, then there's the
took over.
transferability, which I believe is a 90-day transferability
didn't
if
have
you
a
go from one
management
business to
agreement.
another.
But even being the most generous we could be, and I'm
Yes.
trying to make a
Right.
point to Mr.
No,
Norman, even
right.
being the most generous we could be,
Mhm.
it has been at least a year that they've been selling alcohol that they should not have been selling alcohol.
Right, they were not in compliance with 413, you're correct.
So to say that, yes, you may have had a license, but you were not legally selling alcohol. So that's what we need you to understand.
Right.
I just want to be able to explain it, right?
Yes.
And when I was at the hearing in June,
June 30th.
the question was asked by council, can we continue to operate?
By
under
your
our-
counsel?
Can we continue to operate under our license? Is our license in jeopardy today, the current one? The answer was no. That's my recollection.
My recollection is on June 30th, Save Mart participated by telephone. They had an attorney on the telephone. The attorney said, is our license still valid? On June 30th, I indicated that the license that had been issued was valid. There is not a license right now. They applied for a renewal. That renewal has not been approved.
So June 30th, it was a yes. July 1st, our new fiscal year, it's a no. That's what you're trying to say on the record.
Right.
Not sure
And
what
my point is, it
clarification
shouldn't have
you
even
need.
been a yes on June 30th,
That's right.
given
That's-
CCMC.
No, I understand what you're saying. The license had been issued on July 1st,
prior year.
2022.
Which was.
They had a license. We weren't aware that they did not have their liquor manager at that time. We had issued the license. We had not pursued revocation of that license. So was the license issued in error? Likely, yes.
Okay, so, Mr. Norman, to your point, yeah, so you're hoping in a position to not understand that the manager wasn't the current manager when you were asked if the license was current.
I was aware that they had a license from July 1st through the end of the fiscal year, which meant on June 30th, that license was still intact. I also was aware that they did not have a liquor manager at that point. I had not pursued revocation of this license. And, I mean, is this one messy? 100% it's messy. That's why, as the hearings officer, I made the referral. I had a choice. I could either say no, and I could have revoked it and stopped all selling, or I could have them waive their 30 days and bring it to the Liquor and Entertainment Board. And I put everything on a stay during that period.
I mean, this is a topic we have to discuss. It just seems to me that the revocation ought to be automatic. If you no longer have a liquor manager and you've exhausted the
30-day
the 30 days or the 90 days or whatever leniency is granted, it should be at the end of that period that the license is over, you know. I think this is something that we have to work out separately. I would be willing to, given what you said and the fact that we might be looking at others of these, I I would be comfortable changing my motion to indicate that we would approve. So I'll modify my motion. I would vote to, or move to approve the aforementioned liquor licenses with the understanding that the liquor manager would not be in place. Therefore, they could not sell liquor until July 31st, 2023, beginning essentially today, or as quickly as it can be removed. And with the further caveat that the individual store managers get their application submitted by the end of next week, so a week from this Friday. What date that may be is the 28th, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? Someone just verify. So that's my amended motion.
Does the second wish to continue his second? Discussion?
I would just like to point out, yes, we do have a number of these situations that have come to light because of this situation. In this case, this is a corporation with lawyers and professional people that should have known better. Indeed, Carson City should have known better as well. However, over and above that, this corporation, and again, most specifically, Mr. Norman, for 3.5 months, ignored the attempts of this city to bring them into compliance. And no, I will not accept the amended motion.
So we have a motion on the table without a second. Does someone else wish to be the second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay. So the motion by Supervisor Giomi and a second by Supervisor Schutte. For the record, to be clear on the motion, the Mr. Norman's application to be the liquor manager would be approved effective July 31, 2023, as long as the Community Development Office, Liquor Office, has received the 3 on-site applications, which will, the 3 on-site applications by that date. Or did you want to make it July 28th?
I said
July 28th, sorry, I want to
July
make sure the
28th.
motion's clear.
That
Right.
gives them 7 days from tomorrow.
To get the 3 applications, which I understand you already have one
And
done.
just to clarify, if that doesn't happen, the
And you don't get the
license does
license.
not get issued, and they
Right.
do not.
That's
sell
a
liquor
condition of your.
Until the applications are submitted.
Right.
Whether that be July 31st of this year or July 31st of next year.
3. So everybody, I just want to make sure we're clear on what the motion is, and so that you can explain what's going to happen here. So I'm going to assume you're going to quickly get your other 2 applications in, and hopefully then on July 31st, the liquor manager, our liquor office will issue you your liquor manager license to sell. Correct? I just want to make sure everyone's on the same page. Is there any question?
I understand the requirement for the 3 liquor managers within 7 days of the 28th. That's clear.
Not 7 days of the 28th.
By the 28th.
Right, correct, sorry, yes. Does that mean we not permitted to sell liquor between now and the 31st of July?
That's correct.
28th or 31st?
No, the 31st.
31st or no liquor.
No liquor.
10 days.
So you get it 10 days, and that's going to demonstrate for us so that we can meet the conditions of approval. Because right now, we have that condition. Could you read that into the record once again? Because I want to tie in why we're doing the condition that we are doing so that it's clear on the record, because I think you're right that you want to explain that it was the last condition for suitability.
Yeah, Adam Tully, Deputy District Attorney. So I'm looking now at CCMC 4.13.125, paragraph 2E. And so essentially, the bases for denial for unsuitability include a person whom the board determines is not a suitable person to receive a liquor license under the provisions of this chapter, having due consideration for the proper protection of public health, safety, morals, good character, and general welfare of the inhabitants of Carson City.
So just on the record, to be clear, the reason we are doing the July 31st date is, as I indicated earlier, for you to prove that suitability, because at this point, you haven't demonstrated that suitability to us. You've ignored requests, you didn't do it for 15 months, but we want to give the opportunity for you to prove that suitability to us, because I want to take you at your word. We've now met you, you've told us you're going to comply, and so the only way I can meet that condition for approval is to see you do what you say you're going to do. And that then makes it suitable for me. And so I just wanted to tie that in, if it makes sense. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have any further discussion? We have a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no.
No.
Did I have your vote? It was a yes? Well, I know, we need it recorded. Thank you. Let the record reflect the vote was 5-1. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. That was a tough one. Do we have any, we had tough ones all day today. Final public comments on the liquor and entertainment? What? On the liquor and entertainment board, please come up. Mr. French.
Thank you very much. That was related to one specific case, and as you move forward, you have, I think, 3 or 4 more related store requests and such on the agenda. Does it, no? That was the total?
That's
Oh,
it.
well, the store's on that list. Okay, so they're taking the liquor off the shelves now, is what you're suggesting?
We're going to find out the suitability of the candidate and if he does exactly what said he's going to do.
But-
So I'm going to assume that's what he's going to do, but
But he,
I
well, no,
can't-
I'm just
I
saying
can't
that
speak to
was your
that.
request, is that part of the deal was that he takes it off now? Okay, thank you
Through
very
the
much. I just wanted the
31st.
clarification. Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, then we're going to adjourn as the Liquor and Entertainment Board, and we're going to reconvene as the Board of Supervisors. Let the record reflect, we still have full quorum. Okay, we're on agenda item 22A, which is discussion and possible action regarding Carson City's proposed 23, 20 to 28 consolidated plan, which must be submitted to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for Carson City to remain eligible to receive entitlement grants through HUD. Is Rebecca or
I'm going to start.
Sherry's going to take the lead?
Yes.
Miss Benaboo.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And I do not envy your job today. It has been a tough day for you guys. Sherry Russell Benaboo, CFO for the record. From 2017 to 2023, the city had an MOU with the state regarding the CDBG program. Initially, it worked great. We were getting over $500,000 in allocations, and they were very easy to work with. However, in the last 2 to 3 years, the allocation has been diminishing despite the MOU, and the city is getting fewer and fewer applications as the state requirements have become overly burdensome. So the previous grant administrator and I started to explore the idea of receiving the funding directly from HUD again. However, prior to this decision, the grants administrator submitted her resignation. So at that point, I decided, forget it, we'll wait a year, and then we'll potentially pursue this when a new person comes online. However, in March, we received 2 letters, one from CDBG congratulating us on our new award, and one from the state saying we're no longer funding you. So this decision was made for the city that we were getting funds directly from HUD. There are only 2 things that we need to do getting the funds directly from HUD. We need to complete the consolidated plan by August 16th, and we need to do community outreach by that date as well, including a 30-day comment period. So Rebecca Phipps, our new grants administrator, has been working feverishly to get this consolidated plan together. As you can see, there's a ton of information in this plan. She had to work with many of the city staff. She had to work with nonprofits, various other entities to get this information together. We got it together. HUD did a deep review of our plan since we hadn't submitted one in 10 years, since 2013. And they gave us some comments. Of course, we incorporated those comments into the plan. And so HUD believes this will be acceptable for their purposes. For the community outreach, we did a flyer that you'll be receiving or maybe have already received in your water bill with a QR code, and you can go to that QR code and fill out a survey for the CDBG program and how you want us to spend those funds. And we also published a comment period on the website as soon as we got a draft together, which was July 8th. So that comment period starts on July 9th and it'll end on August 8th. Again, we have to get this submitted by August 16th or we lose the money. So today is the formal hearing that is also required by HUD to talk about the plan if there's any public comment. And we will be bringing this back on March 3rd to tell you guys about
August?
Yeah, August, sorry. Oh my God, I don't know what year I'm in apparently. I know,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We'll be bringing it back on August 3rd to discuss what the community outreach has provided. But I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca for just a few minutes to talk about already what we have received as far as public comment.
Good morning, Rebecca Phipps for the record. I am the grants administrator. And just to reiterate, we posted a survey regarding the CDBG program. And we posted it on May 29th and then reposted on June 6th. And then it is to close on August 8th. And as Sherry mentioned, there was a flyer that is going out in the July water bills. And on that is a QR code. So as of yesterday, we've had 19 respondents. And of the questions, their top projects for their top recommended projects for the funds are to, 1, demolish vacant blighted buildings, construction and rehabilitation or improvement to water, sewer, and storm systems, assisting low and moderate income veterans to receive services, support targeted code enforcement, and street and sidewalk improvements. One of the questions that we had on the survey was a listing of the various projects that we have funded for the past couple of years and asking the respondents if they agreed with that spending. Of the 19 respondents, 18 approve of how the city has utilized the CDBG funds in the past couple of years. And in case you don't know, that is like the construction project on the sidewalks on Desatoya in Colorado. Also some projects with fish and a few other things like that. So that's the survey. We also did a public notice that appeared in the Nevada Appeal, and that is the inviting citizens to review the CDBG consolidated plan that appeared in the paper on July 8th. As of and then it was also uploaded on the website, on the city website on July 7th, and that will close on August 7th. And as of yesterday, we have not received any public comment.
Thank you. Is there any questions? And for the record and everyone, we're talking on the late material. If you have any further, because they've incorporated comments they've received to date into the one that is late material. So does anybody have any more thoughts or items for the late material version? Supervisor Giomi?
No specific, I think like everybody else, we caught some of the same things, and I know you guys threw this together and you have an opportunity to amend it. So I would encourage you to do that as you get comments and sort of clean things up. But I know that the idea right now is to jump through some hoops and get approval as quickly as can in the timeline. Do you happen to have the staff report with you? On the second page, the paragraph that talks about dates. I read that about 7 times, and I just don't know if my head is as hard as a piece of marble, or I just,
You were
can you,
right.
can you read through those 2 paragraphs and just kind of help me understand what you're trying to say there?
So are you talking about the two that talk about if the consolidated
The
plan
board
is approved
requests,
today?
let's see, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 down. Starting with if the board requests changes.
Okay, so if there were a bunch of changes today from the board, and you didn't want to approve the plan today, initially I was thinking that would be fine. We could bring it back August 3rd, and you could approve the plan at that point. And we can just have the hearing today and not approve the plan today. But if you guys really wanted to move on this, I thought if you approve the plan today, then we would just incorporate any other little comments that we got from the public and submit it to HUD. But, you know, and not have to bring it back on August 3rd. But since the comment period doesn't end until August 7th, we're definitely going to bring it back on August 3rd and let you know, give you an update on the comments.
So we just don't need to approve this till the next meeting.
Our next
Yeah.
meeting, when is our next meeting?
August 3rd.
August 3rd.
So we'll
Oh, I
still
see.
have a 4-day gap, but yes.
Yeah, and we'll update you on any public comments we get from the survey and the public
Okay,
comment
so you're
period.
saying the consolidated plan accompanying assurances must be submitted by August 16th. The last sentence in the previous paragraph says the grants administrator will present the award recommendations at the August 17th meeting.
Yeah, if there's no changes to the consolidated plan, I was thinking we could bring them back on the August 17th meeting so that, you know, everybody has their awards. Because we already had an audit review work group, we were
So you
under
already
the
had
impression.
applications is what you're saying?
Exactly, we were under the
Okay,
impression.
that's what was unclear to me in
We
here,
were
that-
still with the state, so we were running it just like normal. We had our audit review work group, we had our applications. We've already got recommendations for this funding, but obviously if we don't get this plan in.
No, I understand
we
now.
can't award it,
That
so-
wasn't clear, so I wasn't understanding
Okay.
how, you know, I got it. I
Yeah.
got it now. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, I
Sorry,
really
no,
tried
that's
to be
okay. You
clear
just
and concise.
Call me Mr. Marblehead, I'm fine.
Supervisor White.
I guess I don't know where I've been over the last month or so. I was not aware this was coming until it landed on my desk. So I can tell you on page 73 and 74, those projects that are mentioned there, I can buy into those projects pretty well, especially since the sidewalk is gonna go right down the side street from my house. And it's been needed for a long time. But I'll take you back to page 1, item number 2, that, of things that are available for this money. Item number 2 says we can spend it on code enforcement. I would like to urge staff to strongly consider using this money to add a code enforcement officer, because we constantly hear complaints that come in that don't get addressed. I have personally been told by code enforcement, I can't address that because I don't work on the weekends. I find that absolutely nonsense. But going forward, it's going to be my recommendation that we use a portion of this money for code enforcement.
We will definitely look into the details of the code enforcement that is allowed under it, but again, we're formulating this plan based on the applications we've received in the last 3 to 5 years. So assuming we're going to receive the same kind of applications going forward, but obviously Hope would be more than happy to submit an application, yeah.
So let me ask the question differently. When we put the grant announcement out for people to apply, we are providing these 9 allocation opportunities. That this is what's going out on
That is
page
correct.
1.
That is correct.
Okay. I think that's the particular answer, is that those 9 activities are eligible grant applications to be applied for.
Well, can I say beyond that, that they should be trying to comply with the plan, not just page 2 of the plan,
Right.
but the entirety of the plan,
Oh, yes.
right?
But you have to get past this first to even
correct.
get into the opportunity.
But all I'm saying is I mean, we're not gonna do this and stick this plan on the shelf. They're gonna have to
Correct.
refer to the plan to get evaluated, right? I mean, that's my assumption as to how you're gonna work that going forward, correct? Okay.
So does this plan address priorities within these 9 activities? Let's state it differently.
It includes the priorities requested by HUD. This is HUD's form, and so it's very specific as to the questions it asks.
Would-
We can't just add our own stuff.
That's not my
You
question.
also make statements in here regarding our strategic plan that, right? So if. our
Yeah, because
strategic-
HUD wants a copy of our strategic plan, yeah.
Let me ask my question, try to be clearer. Is there anywhere in this plan document that is indicating our strategic plan or our plan places more emphasis on any one of these activities? Let me say it
No.
that way.
No.
So all 9 are wide open. We don't, I'm gonna have to refer to something in here. I thought we said our priorities were something like, for infrastructure, it was sidewalks and ADA, and I know I'm not full of baloney.
So the.
I
so-
might be today.
So I do know
Right?
what you're talking about. Those
Yes.
priorities are in line with the strategic plan.
Right, so it's not wide open to the 9. We have, what I'm
It's-
getting at
it's-
is, I'm a
We do
work
have
group.
priorities, and we will give this to the audit work group, but we can't dictate what applications we're gonna receive.
But we are dictating results by placing
Right.
priorities on items. And what
That's
I'm
true.
indicating to you is if Supervisor White wants an amendment in this plan, it's not on page 1 in the 9. You need
Right.
to articulate the priority in the section of the plan that places priority so that the work group knows that's our priority. So pretend, I don't know, I get 9 points on an application that, just pretending here, utilizes number 2 because that's of higher priority to us. And so that's the question for us to consider when we come back to the next meeting, where specifically, if you want emphasis on anything. So I'm not suggesting today we
Yeah.
have that answer, but to actually come to the page.
And we can
really
absolutely
what I-
change the
what I was
priorities.
indicating is I feel like we're pretty well set on this. I was indicating the next time we have to do this, the next allocation
Yeah, we've already,
should come in.
the next
right?
year.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
but we
yeah.
have to have a plan that supports where you're going.
Right,
with
right,
that,
right. Yeah,
so-
I wasn't suggesting
Yeah,
we
so-
modify this plan.
Right.
No,
Okay.
the next one.
No, 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 no.
So this is a 5-year plan.
Let me try again. The work group has already allocated the applications. Supervisor White is not suggesting we redo fiscal year 24's applications.
Correct.
That those could stand and you would
Correct.
bring those forward. But beginning
Thank you
fiscal
very
year
much.
25, I'd like you to reread this and determine whether you want anything different in the priorities that we can discuss at our next meeting.
Got it.
If you want something higher or lower on the ranking. So reread this and go to the pages that say, because that's how the work group operates. They look at what
Right.
we prioritized in the plan,
Right.
and then they vote on the applications, or should be,
Yeah.
giving somebody deference on their application because it more fully meets one of our
Well,
goals.
can you,
Can we also create a table of contents so we kind of know how this thing is organized?
that would be helpful.
That was a little difficult.
Yeah.
And to that point, if I may, Mayor, where are you? I mean, you know, where are the priorities?
I'm gonna find them.
I mean, because I do remember it, but it felt sort of esoteric to me. I
Well,
mean,
that's what I'm
and I-
saying,
so-
reread that.
Page 2, list, I thought.
Not
No, there's a more
not the
specific list.
CDBG ones, but
There's a more specific list that relates to the strategic plan.
And
So, I mean,
it
maybe-
doesn't matter.
maybe-
We're gonna come
look,
back in
maybe
2
broadly-
weeks.
I know, but if we
Read
give them good direction and they can
Yes.
come back with a better plan, then.
Yes.
You know, maybe what,
36?
say the number?
56? Yeah, it was so hard. An index would help us greatly.
Oh, here it is. Okay.
What page?
631.
Priority needs summary,
Homeless facilities,
neighborhood facilities.
neighborhood
So
facilities.
we're telling them, right, so anyway, we
I
can.
mean, I'm okay with that. I just, maybe
got
if code enforcement, I would agree with Supervisor White. If code enforcement isn't in here, let's throw that in here. And, let's throw that in here. Then, I mean, Hope still has to apply for it, but
Yeah,
at least
we're
then
not-
it's in here.
And again, that would be effective for the FY25 applications. We're not asking you to redo.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna.
Okay.
We're too far down the road for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought, I didn't want to, I was trying to help you there, not say year 6.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
No, you're right.
Is there other things we think the plan should address or do, Supervisor Shooty, when they bring it back to us?
Something that I would like to see, I don't know if it needs to be in the plan, but I think it's a great call to action for our community as a whole. In some of these priorities, like the blight, it's not just about people getting grants to, whether it's tear down buildings or clean up. I would really invite community members and landlords to also work on that. Work on, if it's an apartment building and there's an interplay yard, to work on that, to fix the slats in fences, to clean up neighborhoods so that this really is a nicer place for everyone, even for people driving through. There are several areas in town that, I struggle with, and it's not, in this case, the tenant's responsibility to fix slats in a fence or to tear out a dead tree or to, keep foliage alive in a play area. It's whoever owns the facility. And so as I was reading this, that just kept coming to mind, that I so support this and I so appreciate it. But I also would like to invite community members to also be a part of solving or addressing or looking at these priorities. I also, in terms of like behavioral health care and crisis health care, and like on page 613 of the packet or on page 38 of this, surrounding counties also bring residents and homeless to get services. I really want to see an emphasis on working with those surrounding counties for the follow-up support, for the infrastructure to get these folks back home, and not their new home of Carson City, because that is all they have the resources to manage, but that there be a commitment and collaboration to really see an important and needed and humane project through to its fruition. So those are my 2 big comments.
And so I will say that I think what Supervisor White was after is on page 2, and where you have number 5, address blight in LMI neighborhoods, you could put with emphasis on code enforcement. There's a statement in there that you could add in that that's a priority for us, and it's just a thought or a place that you can look at.
I don't
think those are
no,
directly
yeah,
from
you can't change
HUD.
those 9. Those are
No, it's
right
not,
from
it's on page
CDBG.
2. I'm not changing page 1.
Oh, page 2, I see.
Oh, I
Page
see, I see.
2 is where I
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
telling
Yeah.
you that we set the goals for what we
Right.
want to. So anyway, I'm just suggesting
it's this
that they understand that the blight is the code enforcement component. Yes. Anyway,
Just one more comment.
yep, go ahead.
I think turn my mic off. I think perhaps somewhere in here, in terms of priorities, is a either statement or a paragraph that says, broadly speaking or in general terms, priorities will be given to projects that, meet CDBG guidelines certainly, but also support Carson City's public strategic plan. So maybe if you just put it in that way very broadly,
Yeah.
we're saying it has to meet CDBG guidelines certainly, but that
Additional points.
with a priority focus on accomplishing goals identified in Carson City's strategic plan. And then I think that takes all of the priorities that this board has previously adopted and brings it into this plan.
Okay.
And then that
I will
probably,
tell you those priorities are straight out of the strategic plan, but I understand the
Okay.
strategic plan can change in 5 years, so
well, yeah,
I like
but I
having
mean, just
that
to have a
sentence.
paragraph in there that says that.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I like having that sentence,
Addresses, because
yes.
code enforcement was a priority, that brings that in.
Right.
The things that Lisa talked about is in that, brings that in.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
And then you're almost, essentially done.
yeah, no, I like it.
Perfect. Anybody else? Okay, this is a public hearing on this particular item. Does anyone want to add or talk about anything else that's in the CDBG plan? Okay, so we're going to see it back
You
at the
will.
next meeting,
You
so
will.
you probably
Thank
have
you very
enough
much.
to.
I really
Okay.
appreciate all the suggestions. Thank you.
With the table.
Yes,
she
I
got
wrote
that.
it down. We will get you a table of contents. Thank you.
So we can find it.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for your hard work. I know it's surprise activity to do. We're now going to move on to agenda item 23A, discussion and possible action regarding authorization for Carson City staff to perform due diligence on the acquisition of water rights for 491.4 acres of Carson City-owned property known as Buzzy's Ranch Open Space. Ms. Boyer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Board of Supervisors. For the record, Lindsay Boyer, Open Space Manager for Carson City. I prepared just a short presentation for you all to kind of outline our water rights planning process and a little bit more about the management plan that was included in your packet. So just a brief history of the Buzzy's Ranch Open Space. This is a 491 acre working ranch. It was acquired in 2007 and 2010 using both state Question 1 grant funding as well as Question 18 quality of life funds. Additionally, a component of this ranch, 36.7 acres of wetlands, were transferred to the city through the Omnibus Public Lands Management Act. And those are NDOT mitigation wetlands that we manage as well. And the acquisition criteria for the grants were primarily to preserve the historic ranch property. So this is a property that's been historically ranched for over 100 years, and it's one of the last remaining ranches in the Eagle Valley. Additionally, maintaining the aesthetics of the irrigated green pastures was very important, both from an ecological perspective, but also for the neighborhood and the overall aesthetics of that area. Additionally, floodplain protection and wildlife habitat were both very important within the grant application process. So at the time of acquisition, Carson City and the grantor did not have enough funding to purchase the associated water rights with the property. And water rights are very critical within the Great Basin on any property that's been traditionally irrigated. If you remove the irrigation water from the property, it results in very costly maintenance issues, specifically a proliferation of noxious and invasive weeds, and typically that leads to hazardous fuel issues as well. So the water rights really are critical to maintaining those conservation values that were identified in the grant, as well as just the natural resources and the ecological function of the ranch, as well as that floodplain. So to keep the property irrigated since time of acquisition, Carson City entered into a purchase and sale agreement with both sellers, which gives them exclusive rights to maintain agricultural operations on the property as long as they own those water rights and apply them to the ranch. So it was a way for us to keep the ranch irrigated while we work towards a long-term solution of obtaining water rights by the city. So our water rights strategy, there's a few components to it. So as identified in the Buzzy's Ranch Management Plan, approximately 1,895 acre feet annually, or AFA, is needed to wholly irrigate the property as well as the wetland habitat that we have on the ranch. You may have noticed within the plan that it identifies about 421 total acres of irrigatable land. So the total ranch is 491, but not all of that land is irrigatable. It excludes roads, upland areas, and the ranch headquarters. So with our water rights strategies, kind of twofold. You are all aware of the SNPLMA grant that was awarded to the city in 2021. So that's $1.8 million that we have been awarded for water rights acquisition as well as some wetland enhancement at this location. And I want to point out the map here to your right. The area for the SNPLMA project specifically is this area outlined in orange, and then the NDOT mitigation wetlands down here in blue. So the grant awarded funds to purchase 694 acre feet of water rights. That's enough to cover about 148 acres of irrigated wet meadow, so that center portion of the ranch where we have really critical migratory bird habitat is also the site of the Ducks Unlimited Wetland Enhancement Project. But unfortunately, that will only fund about 1/3 of the total water rights needed to irrigate the ranch. So the remaining 2/3 that you see here still need a water rights strategy secured. So we have identified some private partnerships and willing sellers who we've been in initial discussions with about the potential to purchase the remaining water rights needed. So really, this item before you today is to authorize the due diligence that would be needed to proceed with that plan, specifically needing to initiate appraisals, obtain title reports, other water rights documents, and really begin to understand and identify a potential financial strategy. We have assembled a really wonderful team to assist with this effort. Specifically a water rights consultant, Chris Fakwe, who is in the audience today. So if you have specific questions, he can assist in answering those. And we also have identified some water rights attorneys to help navigate this effort as well. Specifically, the Buzzy's Ranch Management Plan, which was included in your packet, was a management plan which is in draft form. It was completed this year, but it's been in progress since 2018. And the primary objective for beginning this whole planning effort was to identify really how much water was needed to irrigate the ranch fully. That was something that we didn't know when we started down this path. The plan also critically identifies strategies for restoration or sort of a drought contingency plan. So if we aren't able to obtain the total water rights needed or we enter into a significant drought, it does provide strategies of how to manage the ranch under those conditions. The secondary objective for the plan was really to start identifying potential management strategies for the property. So considerations included grazing rotations and seasons of use, so specifically a 3-inch stubble height, which is basically a utilization trigger. Once the cows have grazed down to that level, they're moved off that pasture, so it prevents overgrazing. The plan also identifies infrastructure maintenance responsibilities between the city and any potential lessees. So it identifies opportunities to enhance existing infrastructure as well as opportunities to enhance what's out there to really improve irrigation and grazing efficiency. And then the plan also includes considerations for wildlife habitat and natural resource preservation, as well as maintaining the recreation components, as there are trails that border both the east and west side of this property. So a specific example there is that grazing would be excluded in our most important wildlife habitat sections of the ranch during nesting season to allow those migratory birds and waterfowl to effectively nest. So the plan is in draft form right now. Really, it's meant to be adaptable to changing conditions rather than providing, concrete prescriptions. It provides some options for management and ultimately provides Carson City with a framework for management and monitoring the ranch. So with that, I would take any questions.
Supervisor Giomi?
I think that, Buzzy's Ranch is it's a spectacular piece of property for us to own. And I was excited when we acquired it and the fact that we're leaving it as, or at least, considering one of the options is leaving it as viable ranch land, I think really is great because it speaks to the heritage of the area and it's a great way to continue to use the land in the way it was historically used. And in fact, despite maybe staff's thoughts, I'd love to see the same thing happen in Anderson Ranch, but it's a different story. But I want to not miss an opportunity to get it in there. So I think I personally like the way you're going. There was a comment in here that I if you could just clarify that you weren't planning to bring the management plan to us for approval, but I don't think that's exactly what you meant. I think the plan should come to us for approval, and I would like to see it come to us, and so that, I guess, is my comment.
Excellent. Thank you for that comment. Just to clarify, the purpose of today's item is really to authorize the due diligence for the water rights, kind of the next steps. The plan is still in draft form, so we weren't looking for approval or authorization on the plan specifically today, but more so to move forward with the water rights process. But the plan is, a great tool for illustrating why we need that water, and also just demonstrating the work that we've done out at the ranch. So that's to sort of clarify why we're not seeking approval on the plan today, but more the due diligence component.
Yeah, I understand that. What I guess I'm not hearing the commitment of is that you are going to bring the plan to the board for approval.
We will bring the plan
Okay,
back for
that was not
approval.
clear anywhere
Yeah.
in the packet, and that's what I wanted to hear.
Okay, thank you.
Clarity on. I understand the purpose for today, and you're right. It is great background information to support the decision that we're going to have to make, and I agree with you. So thank you.
So my question really has to do with the ability to manage the water rights itself once we obtain them, because I'm so positive here that we're going to get some water. Is the Parks Department, do we have other water rights that we maintain and prove up and do all that, or will this be a first for your department versus Public Works?
That's a great question. So there are some water rights that are associated with our department. For example, there are some rights associated with Riverview Park and the wetlands out there. So we have been managing that as far as timing when the water needs to be turned on and monitoring the wetlands. So we have had some practice with that.
Permits, reports, all that good stuff.
But ultimately, this will be sort of new for our department, but that's why we've retained the help of our water rights consultant, so we can learn as much as possible from him, and he can assist in that effort during that transition.
Yeah, because I'm really concerned, that once, well, I guess you could say after everything going on today at our meetings, it's imperative that we're prepared when we get the permits or when we get things and own water rights, that we have to comply with all the lovely hoops, because there'll be a ton of hoops. And so I just want to make sure in the due diligence and when we're moving forward, that before we do that final purchase, that we have everything in place in the city's infrastructure to ensure compliance. So just want to get that out there. I'm a little worried we're running staff short. Supervisor White.
Go ahead. I just want to make a quick comment about the expertise that exists at Carson Water Subconservancy District. I know you know that. Yes. But I would just say, because we're a member agency, we pay to that organization, not to say that we can't hire staff, but there is tremendous knowledge and expertise there. And I think you can get a lot of assistance without having to pay for it because we're already members. So just not forget that and have them, help out where they can, because they will.
Oh, great idea. Supervisor White?
Yeah, I would like to take over Supervisor Giomi's Marblehead seat.
We're passing that around today.
I just want to be clear on what you're suggesting as far as the grasses you'll use to be planting. It's not clear what really was successful and wasn't. And in the light of the whole world is moving to, we want to establish whatever's native. You know, I work with SHPO on another project, and they insist that we figure out what was the native species that was used there. So it appears you're suggesting to use non-native grass species as opposed to what is native. So can you kind of drag me through there and unscramble the marbles?
Sure, great question. So Supervisor White is noting a component of the plan that talked about some of the restoration strategies that had been experimented with during this whole process. Because when we started in 2018 trying to unravel this mystery, we weren't sure, how much water was going to be available, if we would ultimately be able to fully irrigate the ranch. And so we wanted to have a contingency plan where certain components of the ranch, especially those that are a little less wet than other portions of the ranch, that those could be converted back to a non-irrigated condition. So we put in some test plots, and one was in kind of a dry upland area, and one was in a more wet meadow component of the ranch. And we did some seeding trials working with the Agricultural Resource Service. And so those seeding trials that were implemented did use non-native species, specifically because those species have been proven to be incredibly robust and really effective under a low to no water regime. And so they selected those to really, I guess, experiment with the biggest heavy hitters that were possible out there to see what the results of those may be. Unfortunately, there were some issues over time with those study plots, and we weren't able to fully illustrate the efficacy of those treatments. It's some additional studies that we would like to do. I'd love to include some native species and do a bit of a competition study and really illustrate, the power between those non-native species and native. But ultimately, in changing climatic conditions and an unsure irrigation regime, because even if we get all the water we need, there will still be droughts and there will be years where there's less water. So the new sort of strategy and restoration is sort of to hedge your bets and to include a combination of native and non-native species. And so while only non-native species were utilized for this particular experiment, they're not set in stone. They were just sort of an example of what could be done out at the ranch. But ultimately, when the time were to arrive to restore portions of the ranch, if that were needed, we would go with a native and non-native combination. And that's typical of all of our restoration projects these days, just because unfortunately those native species aren't always able to outcompete the conditions that we have in the arid West now, with proliferation of cheatgrass and the expansion of droughts that we have. So it's got to be kind of a throw it all in the hat and see what you get out kind of approach. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there any public comment on this item? No? Oh, okay, I thought he was coming up here. Okay, what's the board's? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I thought you were walking away. Sorry, go ahead. It's okay.
Denny French, Carson City. Thank you, board mayors, or mayor and board. Thank you. Looking at the packet, I appreciate the information. It was I hardly got into it, but questions that I have. The leasee is the Buzzy Ranch operators are operating the ranch now. Are they apt to move out, and then would they not then be in a position to have to continue? It says in this packet that they are, during their leasee position, supposed to operate that ranch and supply the water from their water allotment, which is what you would call the water rights. Is that well?
Not exactly.
I'd like to have you direct that if you would. But so why are we worried about buying the water? Because they're still going to be the leasees as long as I can see. What is our concern there? And if they do leave, do we have other options as far as buying water rights from other locations? And I believe two were brought up, or at least suggested, that there would be other options and what their prices would be and how much we would get for that. And then how would then our management of that land be sort of guided to what water was available? My question is, we're supposed to have a lot of water here, and I'm wondering why we need anybody's water rights. But that I see that agriculture is a different thing than the city individuals buying water for city operative. Farms had the rights, and they have passed them down through family to family. I'm irritated with Buzzy, the folks. They're getting the opportunity to ranch it. They have businesses on the property, and we're sort of in their grip. We're under their thumb unless we can look for other areas to get the water and then just basically say, we don't want you as leasees anymore. We don't want your water rights, which are really sort of holding us into that position, in my opinion, that we're sort of held to have them as our leasees. I hate that word. People using the property until we can figure out what to do with it, how to fund the watering. And so this packet didn't quite get into that, but that's something I wanted to bring up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Ms. Orloff? Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor, Supervisors. I've been listening to the meeting from remote. Thank you very much. Interesting meeting. I think Buzzy Ranch is an awesome place, and it would be lovely to have the water rights there. I do have concerns, as I think one of the supervisors alluded to, that our staff in general is overworked. They have so much to do. This is a huge project. Water is a huge issue, and compliancy, and I just have concerns. Can we really take that on? And I think that's based, as you all know, on my concerns about Prison Hill OHV area, water issues there, flooding, erosion, compliance with our own CCMCs and with the Nevada State SWIPs and erosion laws. So I think I want to keep the ranch, of course, as it is, and I look forward to some way to doing that. But is our staff getting overextended? And this is a sensitive subject, but it was brought up in a past meeting that there was a slaughterhouse on this property. It was brought up in the slaughterhouse conversations. And I'm curious, how is it performed there? Is it really, when I read the website, it looks like animals go to a butcher. Are they slaughtered there or just processed there?
They're slaughtered there.
Okay, because it wasn't clear
Yes, he is.
in the slaughterhouse. It wasn't.
He's not a USDA site.
Yeah,
It's
but
not
it
a USDA
it was
site.
said in a meeting for public record that there was a slaughterhouse there. So my concern is water. I mean, I see a little ranch house. If you're slaughtering there, where is the offal going? Into the well water that we're trying to buy, into the river? Is there contamination? So as long as that's clarified for the record, I appreciate that. Thank you.
That doesn't have anything to do with this item, so we won't discuss that on the record because I got to stick to the agenda item, but we can talk later. Is there any other public comment about the due diligence for the purchase of a water rights for Buzzy Ranch? No? Okay, Supervisor Giomi?
I move to authorize staff to perform due diligence required for water rights acquisition for the property as presented.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect that was unanimous. Thank you. We're now on to agenda item number 24. Ms. Paulson, any items to report or discuss?
A couple of upcoming agenda items. Next meeting, we'll be starting the process for the park bonds issuance for the Centennial Park upgrades. That would be funding, the debt service would be funded from the lodging tax revenue. I think will be going to the CTA board too prior to that. And then the strategic plan annual report will be coming up. And then a couple of South Carson Street license agreements. And that's it.
Thank you. Does any member of the board have anything to share? Supervisor Schutte?
This is just a kudo to the staff at the cemetery. Our family recently finally buried my dad's ashes in with my brother and my mom. And the whole process, the staff, and my sister went in, so, with a different last name and all of that. So there wasn't any even of Shooty being, but they were so helpful, so respectful. And last Friday when we went, chairs were set out, and that wasn't anything even I had or my sister or our family had requested. We had just said that there will be a few people there during the process because we wanted to give Dad a wonderful final farewell, tell Mom and my brother hello. And they were just so respectful. And so just a shout out, that's part of community as well, the whole process of life and death. And so it just made me, it made one of those days just a little bit nicer. So thanks.
I just want to say I had the pleasure of the motorcycle competition this weekend at Harley with all of our sheriff's departments, riders, but then all of those coming from out of state. And it was a real pleasure to have them come up and talk to me and tell me how wonderful Carson City is and why they love coming here for the competition and other things they were enjoying in the community. I think I heard that, during our CTA, and we don't think of those as opportunities to bring people back. And then I'm inviting them, couldn't help myself, right? Well, be sure and bring your family back and do more, because next year, go ahead and bring 4 more with you. But it was a really great event, and our sheriff's office did a good job putting it together. They have them do proficiency riding. That was really interesting, that had logos that they had put into the ground and things, and they had to ride through the logos. And so anyway, I just want to say it was an awesome job that they did, and congratulations to Trotter and Matt Smith for wins, first and second. But it was really a good time. I enjoyed it. I'm going to admit it was warm. I'm not sure how they did it with all that gear on, because I didn't have that much gear and I was warm. So anyway, we shouldn't miss those as economic development issues, to tag on the day or a second day for their family, put on an event that, I don't know. I just thought that was a great question during CTA, is what can we do to add a little more? But Supervisor Giomi.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I stopped by as well, and the comments were all positive and have been. And in fact, there's a lot of returning officers from outside the area who have brought their family, and maybe the first year they didn't, but that in subsequent years they did. And that is one of the approaches that CTA is taking, is looking at ways, a couple of things, again, trying to be data driven, but one, tagging onto the events that are occurring either in Reno or Lake Tahoe, as Carson being a secondary market, or an extend a vacation day if you happen to be coming to the American Century Championship or Hot August Nights, to add a day or two and spend some time in Carson, or use Carson as the hub. So those are ways we're moving forward. And one of the other events that for many, many years has brought a lot of outside people that people don't realize is the American Kennel Club event that Candy Roper puts on in Fuji Park. And so my CTA report is that we are working to sponsor them this year. So that'll be the first time that CTA has promoted that event. And it ties directly into what we do at CTA, put heads in beds. And for those of you who have never been to that event, I would encourage you to stop by. Candy and her team do a great job. And again, those people who come to that park absolutely love Fuji Park and love coming to Carson City. So those events continue. I've been reporting on a rugby, international rugby event. Things interfered with that. It never happened. It was supposed to be July 15th. And the main issue was that a majority of the teams, there were like 4 teams that were coming up, semi-pro teams. Those players got pulled up to professional rugby teams, and they didn't have teams anymore. So it was a good problem for them. Bad problem for the rest. We had our Carson Water Subconservancy meeting. Yesterday, we did a tour of the Leviathan Mine, which is a Superfund cleanup site. Copper and sulfur and acidic water are all being treated there to prevent all of those items from entering, a lot of heavy metals, entering the east fork of the Carson River and eventually potentially ending up in Carson. And their efforts have been very, very successful over the years, and they continue to work that. So it was a fascinating process.
Is that still Chevron?
To see that. It is Atlantic Richfield who owns it, and the state of California are the two owners of the Superfund site and the two responsible parties. So it's, I mean, of course, the other Superfund site is the Carson River itself, but there's no responsible party, and so that's a whole nother story for another day. So that's it for my extra boards for this month.
Oh, I want to mention one other thing. We're not the reigning champs, but we have an opportunity to bring ourselves some more glory. October 21st, I know, at 9 a.m. will be the K9 event. So we, somehow we let the DA's office beat us by a lap. Just a lap. We can do it, you guys, but I want to get that out there and challenge. It's a Move with the Mayor event. It's really about being healthy, but having some good fun while we're at it. So mark your calendars for October 21st at 9 a.m. If, I don't know, maybe we better challenge someone other than the DA's office that has all those runners that do.
I know, we
Yeah.
need a few more runners on our team.
Whew.
Challenge like the senior center or.
I like it. I like it.
Or
But some
maybe-
flyers and stuff will be coming out soon on that, but I wanted all of us to get your calendars marked so that.
You said October 21st?
21st,
Okay.
9 a.m. We're gonna do it a little earlier so it's not as hot, because we just do that first half hour of, at Fuji Park. So
You could
mark your calendars, getting it on their way in advance,
put in
so.
a stop there for precision casting.
Oh, at the
Yeah,
Bailey's Pond?
yeah.
Fishing Grandpa there will do it. We might have you do that. I'm really looking on all the events with Move with the Mayor. I try to put those with other things that are happening in the city departments, and then inviting the community to truly come and enjoy those events with us and to showcase all the great work that our departments and teams and staff, and there's so much to just celebrate. I think I liked the comment I heard Kitty say this morning, the awesomeness of Carson City. So mark that on your calendars, and we'll get that. Maybe there'll be a team that Robin brings because they walk those hills a lot, so they might really show us up. But anyway, the whole community is welcome. Does anybody, no one has anything else? Okay. Then we're on final public comment, just in case. Denny, come on up.
Mayor and Board, thank you very much. Observation during an outing, I don't drive as much as I usually, well, I'm driving more than I'm used to. But I went out to Big Five and I had an occasion to look inside for products I needed or things I thought I did. And I walked outside and observed that some of the landscaping water was not going into the landscape, it was going into that parking lot. I went inside to advise my observation to the staff, and they said, oh yeah, property management knows about it, it's been going on for a while. Well, if I'd had tape or drip line equipment on me, I could have solved that problem fairly quickly. But the deal is that there's a book out, and I would like to refer people to it, even though I haven't read it. I've only listened to a review and then looked shortly at it. And it's called The Heat Will Kill You First. And it's by Jeff Goodwill. And he is talking about the fact that we're quickly heating. Cities, states, and counties are all looking that way. In fact, the country is as ways of cooling down cities and keeping other areas cooler. The reduction of asphalt is one of the things they're looking at. planting more trees is another. Well, I thought, well, as long as I'm here and there's nobody going to fix that and I have to just sort of ignore it because there's nothing else I can do, I decided I'd go and try out the McDonald's. It's been years since I've been there, and I actually, because of my circumstances, had to change that. I wasn't wanting to drive there. I thought I'd walk. But the length of that asphalt parking was so much on me personally that I didn't feel it would be a good choice of activity, my body use for my day's activities. So I changed my mind. But I see that parking lot very seldom filled or even close to any kind of capacity. And I'm thinking if they could put planters into that parking lot and put trees into it. I know I always look for a parking space that has a tree around it or such, but I do very much feel that a lot of other parking lots are just heat spots for us. I would really like to encourage other options besides asphalt on anything that we're putting down. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other final public comment? Ms. Orloff?
Robin Orloff, thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to know how we can get a team for that run. I think that would be great fun, so I can talk afterwards, and I can either run it or dirt bike it, and the speed would be the same. So that's how I ride my...
I knew I should have shut my mouth. We got a ringer that's gonna
no, my dirt...
challenge us.
My
It
dirt
has
bike-
to be walking or running.
Unless she's going to be on our team.
Oh, there you go.
Sure,
Then we
I'd be
can
happy
ring-
to.
ring her on our side.
And if I do it on my dirt bike, I'm no faster than running. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm just telling you how slowly I go. I also wanted to give kudos as well to the cemetery on top of Lisa, and I'm sorry for your loss. They helped me with this service back in 2010 for a very dear friend, a veteran, and I can't tell you how beautiful the service was, how they set it up. And whenever I go to visit him, I think of that service, and it's very heartwarming. On another note, and I'm reluctant to bring this up, and I wish Open Space were still here, there is an issue outstanding that's going on that I feel like the committee really should be, the Board of Supervisors might be interested in. But there's either misinformation or misunderstanding about whether or not there's been a site visit or site visits, and the mayor and the city manager are aware, and I've requested a meeting so it can be discussed, because I think it needs to be clarified, because the information is going throughout the city staff and the state staff, and from my perspective, it's not accurate, and I think it has to do with staff accountability, it has to do with ethics, authenticity, and transparency of our managers and maybe our board. I think it borders almost on slander. It's not accurate unless I had an episode of amnesia. I'm hoping it's misunderstanding. We did have a site visit in 2020, which was very proactive, very positive with Jen and Greg. It was awesome. I can't tell you enough how productive that was. There was a meeting on November 10th, 21, where commissioners, grantors, the city were all invited, and the working group and the public citizens were not invited. And we asked about that, and there was a site visit. I have the agenda. I have the spots that were taken, that you were shown, and they were not the spots of our concern. And that would have been a perfect opportunity. They were already there. And I think these need to be discussed. I think they have to do with even city and state compliances, and they're very few. I mean, the concerns are minimal. But I just feel like we need to address this and put it to rest and make sure the information that's going out about me and about the issue is correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any other public comment, anything? Okay, seeing none, we're adjourned, and thank you all for getting through our tough day.